Okay, so in the last part we kind of left off here, and so this is where we're going to start again. Now, again, I was saying we've got to look at the psychology of the science fiction piece we're building. If you're planning on building something for any species, any race, and you're doing your own adaptations to it, and you're not using a concept artist, then you're going to have to go and try and understand not the real mindset, not the mindset of the person who came up with it, but the mindset of the imaginary species that's going to be using it. Again, these things are mecha zombies, which is awesome in itself. They're ancient mecha zombies, and they're designed to scare the living crap out of anything they meet and then kill it. So, what we're going to be building here is a very kind of not ornate, certainly functional, but also very ominous kind of building. Yeah. Now, unlike our old friends, the Dreadnought, and other things of that kind of ilk, we're not looking at something that's going to be entirely made out of rivets. We're not into the kind of not steampunk design, certainly, but certainly the rivet design that I tend to kind of enjoy so much. But this is plate on plate. Now, plate on plate should be familiar to anyone who's been in Star Wars territory. Looking at things like, for example, the Death Star, that's plate on plate build, where you're building layers of detail on top of layers of detail, rather than the rivet pipework method of detail, which we see so often in, well, let me think. Battlestar Galactica uses it, Warhammer's Imperials kind of use it, and various other ones have used it for quite a long, long time. So, if we're going to go into the plate-on-plate technique, the important thing is to kind of start dividing off our model and dividing off the areas before we work on them. So what I'm going to do is start separating the model into areas so that we can work on them. Now, an important thing to remember is these four edges here are basically all going to be the same piece. Okay, as long as we remember where they start and where they're ending, we're going to be fine. What I mean by that is, if we look down here at kind of this edge here that goes down and this edge that goes across, yeah? If we keep this piece, all this kind of piece here that I'm just quickly blocking in, the same all four times, and as long as we don't cross into this area or this area, then we can duplicate it. And once we've duplicated it, we can add areas to make it more individual. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to take this piece out and get rid of the other three because we don't need them. So what I'm going to do is select this kind of pillory thing here, and this. Just go around and select all the parts I'm going to be using. Now it's useful that we've made this low polygon, obviously, because we're going to be able to rip it apart a lot easier. Don't worry that I'm whizzing around the object a lot. Remember, this is a video, just pause it and go back if you're missing anything. Okay, now this part here, obviously, is the door area, and you'll notice, if we look at these parts, for example, the ones at the doors have a different thickness going on. So, let's just stop that and go back and do a different one instead. It's a lot easier to have a kind of underlap where the door area is that we can modify later on. Now, in a moment, we're going to have I'm going to have a brief kind of chat about the functionality of this part. What does it do? Now, the problem we have with science fiction, especially when it's already been designed for you and you're kind of interpreting a shape and coming up with a functionality for it, is what does it do? You know, you really have to kind of wedge an idea for what it does into the shape. Now, obviously, these four edges here are kind of propulsion. They're drawing power from the big crystal that's going to be up here that I'm almost definitely going to change in some way or another. So, we need to kind of work out which areas do what. We need to separate them a little bit and really kind of break this into zones. Okay, now this first part here is ready. So I'm going to detach it. I'm going to call it, let's call this the obelisk with a K. Obelisk corner area 01. And I'm going to detach it, not as an element or a clone. Just click OK. Now, here we have the back. So for the back, I'm going to kind of go from here select all these parts. Oh, I thought I had control selected and I don't. That'd explain it. I've got one of those stupid bloody keyboards that has function keys on it. I was hitting the function key instead. Okay, all the way down. And this is the obelisk rear. Okay, we're already kind of dividing it quite well. This part here is going to be the power source mount. So grow it. And detach. Power source mount. Now down here is the doorway in the front. We'll come to that in a minute. First I need to divide out this obelisk side. Like that. Now for the obelisk door and front. Like so. And that leaves us kind of this shape here. There's not a lot left of it, to be quite honest. And we can just delete that because we don't really need it anyway. Now we can separate these areas a little bit. Because the good thing is that as long as we remember where the pivot points are, we can reassemble this in seconds, literally. Okay, and there are all the parts we're going to use to build our much more detailed Necron obelisk. Really nice. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this Necron obelisk. It's kind of going to be a really nice, ominous piece. Okay, so first thing to start off with then is I'm going to separate this off. So I'm going to hide unselected. Sorry, isolate the selection rather, and move that over there. And what I'm going to do is pull up the reference again that I was looking at. There we go. Okay, so one of the first things I want to do really is kind of define how big a person is. So I'm just going to exit isolation mode again, just for a minute. And this will help me kind of work out exactly how big I need to do things. So I'll use a biped. And the biped should be just a bit smaller than that door. There we go. That's going to help me quite a lot. Now if I select this and the biped, hide unselected, and I'll bring this over to here just to use my reference. Hooray! That's going to make things a little bit easier. Right, now I'm going to start down here. So what I'm going to do first is just a simple tessellate, and that's going to kind of chunk this out a bit for me. Now what I'm going to do is start selecting areas that I want slightly more inset than others. And I'll just make sure ignore back facings on. Now what I want is this area here, which I haven't highlighted, to be slightly more protruded than that section there. Okay, so go here, and I'm going to use the rivet plate method. So inset just by a tiny amount. Now for this model I'm going to have it inset by about 0.5 is ideal. Actually no, 0.25 is even better. Now the bevels I'm going to use are a height of 0.25 and an outline of 0.25. Okay, nice small bevel there for the moment. Now an extrude for maybe 2, and that'll bring it out a bit by local normal. Now you can see some areas there that are going to need to be straightened. So grab that vert, just move it down a bit. Try and get them level. That's probably going to be easier, is just kind of leveling this piece actually. Actually, what I'm going to do is just nip back, and the part that I just did, I'm going to inset it by 0.25. However, I'm not going to do the bevel on it. I'll just go straight to an extrude. Extrude by 2.5. Click OK. Now remember, it was extruded on the local normal. Checking the angles on that. I'll just bring this one up a bit by eye. Gives us some nice angles as well, which is cool. And now bring this down a little bit by eye. Not too much. Actually, I'll lower that back down in again. It's really just the angle I'm dealing with here is a bit crazy. There we go. Okay, back in. That's a bit better. Straighten that out a bit. Check this one. It's important to get these angles kind of right now if I can. Okay, and drop in perspective. Okay, that's quite nice. Now we can see where the parts are that it's kind of going up. I'd rather it didn't. So let's sort those out. So I'm just going to neck grab those. Bring them up to that there. Same goes with this one. There. There, that's much better. Okay, just kind of straighten that up a bit. I know it's a bit of a sod on, however, if we do it now, it's going to make things a lot easier for us. A bit later on. Now, we have to make these kind of inset areas into our model. So, kind of look at the shape again. And what I want to do, while I get a chance, is do a loop on that, then a backspace, and that'll get rid of all the parts I don't really want. Same on here. Quick loop, backspace. Now I've got to get rid of all these verts, so I'll just select them. It's a lot easier to create detail when you have less polygons in the first place. Just a backspace to trim those away. Okay, just keep turning it and moving it. Remember, we're desperately trying here to keep our details in. Now, interestingly, when we did a loop, we seem to have lost a part of it, so we're not going to be able to get rid of all the verts yet until that part there is repaired. So let's do a quick repair of this. easiest way to do that is just bring it across with a cut. Before I do, get rid of this part and that part. Then I can bridge that across from here to here. So a quick bridge. Right, and now in here, do my cut, find my corner. One there, one there. Okay, that should do it. That one probably needs angling down a little bit more, but that's not really a problem. Okay, now, before we continue, I'll just do a quick weld just to get rid of any excess verts that are too close to each other that we're not going to see really anyway. And we can see our plating's working quite nicely. Now, over here then, and what I'm going to do is select here and here, and I'm going to do a ring, and then a single connect. Now I'm going to select this one and this one, and just use my scale tool to scale those straight, like that, and again here, like that. And now what I'm going to do is, with these selected, I'm going to chamfer them nice and wide, like that. Now I'm going to select here, 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 and here, and I'm going to do another connect, and then another chamfer. Okay, and that gives us that shape there and there. Now, what I'm going to do now is get rid of that and that, and down here, and then we can quickly kind of cut these back together again, because I don't like leaving wide open areas if I don't have to. And down here, just get rid of these. Oops, hit the wrong button. There we are. Quick cut. Okay, that brings that shape there. Right, now that we've kind of ironed out this piece, in the next section we're going to start adding some more detail in. So until then, thanks for watching, see you in the next bit.